What I do, I always look for the people first.
I see your feet up on the chair. You're making me very nervous. I know what...
Don't you agree that the reason why we're able to negotiate, the more we can read the other person, the more successful we are?
In reality, it's actually the best business between husband and wife and families. If you look for the best businesses in the world, even that right now exists, like Rockefeller family, it's a family business.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A. Bible says one will conquer thousands and two will conquer 10,000s. It actually talks about the marriage.
I think for a lot of people, when they go through something like this, when you were diagnosed with cancer, people like, no, my life is ended. Mm-hmm. What was for you the first time you heard that news? If I have to think of you now, I know your success is this big, but you are humble this big. Always fight for that greatness. Being good is not good enough. Invest in yourself. You handle yourself, speaking of those nerves, it's like between you, nobody sees that, right? You can put the mask and you can pretend that you handle this situation, but is it important for you that here is authentic as well? Kind of like, here I'm handling. I'm a boss here as well. Kind of like, I don't think you scares me. Kind of like, that's one way to handle the nerves. The other would be kind of like pretend I'm handling, but at the same time to feel fear, to feel lack of confidence, but then you trying to act normal. How is it for you?
It depends on the person and how the reaction is, but never split the difference really helped me to wrap my mind around like awkward situations, like by addressing the elephant in the room.
Right.
It was one of them, and it's like kind of like, I see your feet up on the chair, you're making me very nervous. I know what place I'm in. So it kind of like unlocks like what I see in the room. And by laying it out for what it is, it kind of causes yourself to relax. Like,
I see.
So I guess
take over the situation.
Yeah.
So speaking of this technique to be person who able to negotiate under such a high level, as you are, is that helps you guys in your marriage? Do you think I don't want to use the word manipulate, but it's kind of psychologically you can read the other person. It's because, don't you agree that the reason why we're able to negotiate, the more we can read the other person, the more successful we are.
Right. I think that there's multiple answers to that question, because when you ask, how it relates to our marriage, it's how I respect him and what morality that I place for myself. And I always have to say, like, again, comes back to transparency and self-awareness, that I know when I'm crossing the line of being manipulative versus, when I first started working with Fine Designs, I was just turned 19.
Right.
So you lack experience and you're just stepping into the real world, so to speak. So there's grace for that, and we have to give each other grace. So there was moments of intense tension, but as we got to understand that we wanted the best for each other and that we were on the same team and that he loved me no matter what, and it didn't cross the lines between business and personal life, that no matter if I made a bad deal, he wasn't going to become abusive towards me with his words. He wasn't going to attack me personally and my character. And I think that that's something that I learned, even higher respect for him, is because I saw that it wasn't going to bleed into our marriage.
But is it the way you handle those disagreements before and now? Would you say it's differently you handle, or because it comes with the experience? Because you kind of notice, if I say this, he got offended, or if he said that to me, I got offended, and I would just go away for one day. I would not say a word.
Yeah, I think that it's both because in the beginning there was lack of experience and I would try different things just to see the response. And of course, a lack of knowledge of our customer base would make me to create some bad deals. There was no underlying, sometimes I wouldn't ask permission before I gave a percentage. So I had to learn to ask and communicate better.
So statistically, they say it's not good for husband and wife to work together. It doesn't work. So in other words, they say it doesn't work. Rarely it works. Mm-hmm. And I think you brought a good example is because yes, you work together, but at the same time, you kind of you have to submit to a boss, which is in this case, that's Andre. He is the boss. So you commit a mistake. Hearing from your husband a critique at that moment, and hearing the critique from the boss, it's differently, right? Or is it?
Well, first of all, you mentioned something about the numbers. Looking at the numbers, it's not good to have a family business between husband and wife.
Statistically, yeah.
So first of all, where did you get those statistics?
Nobody knows.
I mean, nobody knows.
That's a good thing. That's
the reason why, because in reality, it's actually the best business between husband and wife and families. If you look for the best businesses in the world, even that renowned exists, like Rockefeller family, it's a family business.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A or Enterprise. I mean, there's so many great companies in the rental car, but there's no one even close to Enterprise. It's a family business, and there's a list of the family businesses, and they are the best. First of all, we're transparent. We're open. We're organic. No matter what happens, we just open. But if we in professional, let's say professional business, whatever boss says, he says, and that's exactly what Elon Musk tries to break it. He's saying, listen, the best way to communicate is just not to have any PowerPoints and just to have talk, and that's it. Just like husband and wife. Right. This is the new way right now of doing business. Just to do that. I mean, Mary, working with you as the husband and wife. I don't know. How do you feel? Do you feel there's a tensions and I mean, of course, we have some questions about guarantees. For example, you made crazy guarantee. Remember, we made a guarantee $120,000.
And how did you handle that?
And we made $90,000 in sales.
Okay.
So that one we made. So together.
It was tremendous loss.
Yeah.
Tremendous loss, and now you can blame everything on Mary. Yeah. So how did you handle that?
Well, that one we made together decision, and then we had the rights in that deal. We had the rights from another company, and that event director he came behind the scenes to Mary, and he took away those rights. And I didn't know. That made me mad, personally mad to that person. So we had
that he took advantage of me, he took advantage of the innocence, trust, and when an outside party takes advantage of trust, it's different than that you trust each other, right? So what do you do when an outside person? And again, I think that's us reading each other's intentions.
Yeah.
If I trust him and I trust his intentions.
Yeah, I think has a lot to do with whether it gives you a critique.
Yes.
Or he says anything, but his intentions.
Yeah. And I think
it's kind of it goes back even to my marriage. I remember every time Lilia would say even anything about my clothes, how I would dress, it get offend me because it's immediately I'm thinking, well, I'm trying to do the best I can, and then automatically get offended, and I'm thinking, no, you are not right. I would not change. And then only later I get the revelation, well, she's my wife. She thinks of me, the best of me. Her intentions is the best that even I have for myself. So the trust was replaced with this emptiness, kind of why would she say that? Why would you go after me? And it completely changed my reaction. After that, every time she says, I go and I change. She says, what are you wearing? So it doesn't look good? No, it does not look good. I go and I change. And then I come out and I say, that looks good? not because I'm kind of like have to deal with you, my boss, or how you dislike me. It's opposite. It's more like, wow, thank you for doing this. Thank you for helping me to look better than I am.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you agree that like it's when we get that revelation, when we get the understanding that that person is out for our good and not for evil, I think that that's where the barrier, like, you know, a lot of people might get divorced, right? Because they're like, you just are attacking me all the time.
That's
you know,
right.
you don't want my good.
Yeah, or you don't
know?
like me as I am. That's what they say. This is who
You
I
try
am.
to change
You
me.
have to accept me. You're trying to change me. Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Bible says one will conquer thousands and two will conquer 10,000s. It actually talks about the marriage.
And that's a good way of applying this to business.
Absolutely.
Because if you two of you here, speaking of the businesses, I was just thinking the business, especially the enterprise that you brought. I remember recently I was watching the videos of the different companies, who is successful, who less successful, and the enterprise came to my mind because the profit. They not only did they raise the growth, but they were able to make a profit. So that's what wife would do. She is not impressed that you're gonna get the first page in a magazine, but she wants you to make the profit. So that's wisdom. And would you say that applies to you as well?
Of course. I mean, definitely, because I really think that we learn that principle. And not just we learn, we're kind of lucky that we are in this together, in this principle together. Not that many people can do that. Usually, if you're a pastor and your wife with you together, it usually works well. If you're in ministry, it's usually husband and wife doing it together. But why not in the business?
Right.
Why not in the marketplace? Because pretty much God calls us in the marketplace. Why we have to be separated in the marketplace? The reason why we have to be separated in the marketplace because it's what the world says.
Well, but there was a lot of arguments. There was a lot of arguments, and one would be, I'm speaking of those arguments. So say, for example, do you ever feel like, give me the room to myself. I had seen you enough. Give me the space. Let me be alone. Let me enjoy at least
that's a private life.
1 hour where I can be myself without you present all the time. Do you ever feel that way?
No, I don't feel. See, again, you're right. It comes to the respect and to the honor. I mean, you know, let's say this, if I don't have mission, then she's under abuse, you know, or
No
could
mission.
be opposite way, or no mission. So what is it, you know, to be a man with no mission? It's tough. It's very tough because, you know, pretty much submission under mission. That's how it works. Like people say, oh, submission, you submit yourself. Submit to what? You submit yourself not to me, you submit to my mission. So God gave me...
In other words, He is not submitting to you as a leader.
Well, there's a respect, of course, as a man, and there's, you know...
not because I said so.
Not because I said so, because I have a mission, and we have...
So it's kind of like we're united by the same values.
Exactly. And that
I buy
mission-
into his vision. In addition to honoring him and being his wife, I buy in to his vision.
But was it like this from the beginning? Because you came from both, from different backgrounds, from different culture, and again, statistically, people say it's not the greatest example to mix those cultures because the way you were raised, for example, and you come up with was it ever in a marriage where you would say, this is not how I was raised in my Belarus, this is not what my
It's
parents...
actually, I read in one of the books about this. Usually intercultural, I said right, intercultural marriages, they're actually stronger than cultural marriages to some point. And one of the reasons why, I read this one, it's actually kind of interesting. One of the reasons why, because there's a barrier in the culture, there's a barrier in the language, and there's a barrier in personalities. That creates the moment of patience. Kind of like, you know... Pause. There's a moment of the pause, you know? Okay, let me think, let me see. He's a little bit different. She's a little bit different. Let me just just you come different way. It's a little bit different when we just completely the same culture, when we just we just attack each other.
Right.
Like I would say like there's a little bit more grace for that person because of the misunderstanding that there can be.
Barrier in language and culture. It does. It's such a really cool thing.
Well, one thing I want to talk to you about, because people may be listening right now and thinking, well, the reason why it works for them because they're just like this. They're just lucky. They're just blessed. Because one word that comes to my mind when I look at you guys, your family, your business, everything, one word that comes to my mind, blessing. You're truly blessed because some people, they have a good business, but they have terrible situation in the family, whether they're divorced or not, but their kids hate them, or they have a lack of romance in the house. So you cannot say those people are successful, but you guys are different. You're very, very blessed. But at the same time, is there something you would say to younger Mary? Is something you would say to younger Andre? I wish, Andre, you knew this before. I wish, Mary, you knew this before. This way we could get this results much sooner. For example, I remember there was a time in my life, and I'm ashamed to admit that, but it was a time in my life. I was waiting for Monday with a smile, and when the Saturday was coming, I felt sad. Going to work, in other words, I felt excited. I have to go to work on Monday. I was excited. To stay with my family on Saturday, I was not excited. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking this for some time. Why? Why would I be reluctant to stay with my family, to play with my small children and spend quality time with my wife? And I'm actually enjoying go to work. And only after some time I realized the reason why I built successful business. So in other words, I invest. It wasn't done in one day. So it wasn't in 1 day or 2 days, not in 2 months, but because it's still in place, because of a lot of things that you did right, now you enjoy the fruit. You're eager to go there. So I received the revelation. So the same thing you have to do in a family. You have to invest. Instead of like what I was doing, I was kind of like, okay, I go to work, I have a specific plan. I go home, I have no plan at all, just to relax. So I go, turn on the TV. It's kind of like, don't touch me. This is my time now to relax. And then I only would respond. Okay, my son would want to play with me. Okay, I go with play. So Lily would say, go to the store, buy this. And it's kind of like I'm reluctant. It's kind of like there I'm the boss, here I'm employee. That's how it felt. And then that revelation, it's kind of like you come into home. It's not has to be kind of like give up and you don't have to do a thing. You have to work. You have to work on your romance. You have to work for your children to build that atmosphere where we're like united when we're playing. And after a while, again, you build the success. Then I'm kind of like, no, I want to be at home and I want to be at work. But more, I want to spend the time at home more than I want to spend the time in work. So speaking of that, do you have something in your life that you can relate to?
I mean, I would say, especially right now, like never before, we feel to be home as much as we can. To be home and to be in church, like locally in the church.
Right.
Because we traveled so much, we've done so much. We used to live here pretty much. Our kids were taken care of with the babysitters here. We had a full-time nanny cooking here and taking care of the kids. But like I keep saying to me, I'm sick and tired of travels. I'm just sick to my head. I just enjoy to be home with my beautiful wife, with my beautiful kids, as much as I can. Just spend time and just to be with them. And we're craving, right? We just craving for that. I like what you said. It's a great point. Because honestly, you're coming home. This is actually has to be like, needs to be a little bit planning to be with the kids and a little bit investment to spend time, good quality time with the wife, good quality time with the kids. And there's something that actually was great, which you said, something that I need to work on myself, This is a really, really cool point. I like that point. Yeah. But this season, like this year, we've focusing a lot on ourselves. We're doing sports, and we try to be as much as we can in the church. We just come back from the church retreat with our pastor, and we try to be with the kids. And Angel, he's going right now for the youth service. It's just amazing. So because we traveled so much last year, we traveled over 4 months of the year, and before that, and we're like, nope, we're done.
So traveling meaning for business or
Both.
pleasure?
Both. It was business and pleasure and mission trips, and, but it was combination together. Yeah.
Well, going back to what I said first is what I'm looking to you. You guys come to my word blessed because, or in other words, happiness, because different people put the different meaning in the word happiness. But one of the ways how I would see the happiness or bless is how you manage to have the balance in life, because you're able with the knowing how busy you are, and especially married, you're a mom, and then you're devoted so much your time to business. You are now you're like doing those not just people when you mention sports, people think, well, he's probably going to gym for a few hours a week. But what you guys were able to accomplish, I mean, it's like I'm taking my hat right now on the front of you. I could imagine anything, but not this. To do the marathons, it's like it's one thing to do that in young 20s, but to do in your age, you're not old, obviously, but still, you're like there. You get in, and it's not so easy to do. But yet, is it because of the dream you had in your life that earlier that speaks to you? How you were able to inspire yourself, to motivate yourself, to have such a goals as this, to go like marathons, to do the other stuff that you're doing now?
I've never done me versus me. I've never done that. I was never even thinking about this, because doing running, it's actually you versus you. It's totally different. I'm doing this for 3 years, and I've done marathons, and this year I'm training for 2 Ironmans.
Ironman. So what is the Ironman?
So I'm doing the half in July, which is 1.2 miles swimming,
okay.
And then you bike into 57 miles,
wow.
And then you run in 13.2, all in one shot.
Wow.
So that's the kind of prep. That's the prep for the full, wow. Which is I'm doing in California in October 30th, and we have a bunch of people coming from here.
Okay.
That one's gonna be 2.4 miles swimming, and 112 miles biking,
no way.
And full marathon running 26.2 in one shot.
No way, in one day. So
back
it's
to back
day.
in one day.
Wow.
In 12 hours straight, all of this stuff.
Oh, that stuff in 12 hours.
To me, if I would even think to myself, I would be already sweating. If like, just to think about how is it possible to do that? For me, I would say definitely impossible. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it just...
That's like I said, you versus you, because, I mean, first of all, it's really changed my life. It's completely changed the way I think, the way I behave with the people, because it gave me so much confidence inside of me.
If I can do this, I can do anything.
It's not just like that. I thought it's impossible. Like, how you can run for 26 miles in 3 hours, with 3.5 hours? How you can do that? Why would you do that?
Right.
Why would you put so much in?
Yeah. That's right. Why would you put yourself
so
in
answer
so much...
that question.
Yeah.
Well, see, I would wake up in the morning and I would feel kind of tired. I would just go to sleep and feel kind of, tired, and I would have headaches. And I'm like, man, what is it? What's wrong with me? I didn't even try to run just to see, what is it? I began to run, and I couldn't finish 3 miles. I'm like, what is it? I cannot finish 3 miles. Some people can do more than that.
Right.
So I began to study this, and I began to learn. It's everything comes to your heartbeat, because first of all, you need to figure out your threshold, of your running, your maximum heartbeat, which is 220, and you minus 50, which is 180. So I usually hit 180 maximum in my heartbeat when I run. 180 minus my age, so it's 137. That's not my easy run. 137 heartbeat BPM. So in other words, so the way you start your run, you start with your heartbeat, which is zone 1, which is 137. If you're gonna start right now run, you're probably gonna walk or a little bit jog,
right?
And you're like, man, my heartbeat already 140 or 150. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah,
you have to slow down. You have to slow down, and then after like 2 months, 3 months, you'll be surprised you're already jogging and your heart 137. And then after 6 months, you're already running and you just improve. But anyway, the bottom line is the most important about the running that it just, you find this. It takes actually for me at least, what happened to me in 3-4 months. You find this moment of your life when it's just you versus you. When you just run, there is nobody there. It's just amazing. And it's a pain versus you. It's a pain versus your mind. Because your mind wants to stop.
So mentally you have to embrace the pain.
You embrace sweat, especially in Texas. You embrace heat. It's miserable, but it's beautiful.
Would you say that because it's attractive to me if I can come to the moment in my life and anything uncomfortable that suits you a pain, I feel comfortable. So it's, in other words, I don't see anything uncomfortable. If anything comes to me, being in a comfortable situation and I feel comfortable, kind of like, wow, I'm always a winner. I'm always victorious. Do you feel that's what it does to you? Because mentally, like you said, you go against yourself of the limits you felt, and now you become limitless.
Well, here's the point. You're actually not limitless. You are limited, but you're only limited to your mind.
So what is the faith place here? We watch the games, and those competitors, they would pray. Was there a moment where you ran and in the distance and you knew you couldn't? There is no way I'm going to face the finish line. Did you pray at that moment, or you just had to go and open the potential?
I really think it's a spiritual thing.
It is a spiritual.
It is a spiritual thing because you go in against yourself, and you don't compete against your partners. You don't compete against the whole group of people that run in. You actually compete against yourself. It's absolutely you, because you train exactly what you're going for. You cannot train, let's say, for 8 pace, and then instantly at the finish line or at the marathon, you're like, oh, I'm going to go for 6. You can't. You're going to make it. And it's interesting that you're going to look at the scriptures. You're going to find so many scriptures in the Bible about the race.
Right.
And specifically, Apostle Paul, he would talk about that. And I like the Hebrew 12 after the Hebrew 11.
Yeah,
the Hall of Fame of all the
that's right.
Those that finish the race, and the chapter 11 starts about the race, and they finish the race, and we have the clouds of the witnesses behind us.
Yeah.
And then he said, get rid of the sin that pretty much blocking you from finishing your race. So this is actually a really, really cool thing, because Paul always used examples of the race. Even his last book, which is 2 Timothy, that he wrote to Timothy, he was beheaded 2 weeks or 1 week or 2 months after that book he wrote. He said, I finished the race.
Right.
I finished the race. And God set the race before us. So we're not walking, we're running. And we have a specific race that God set before us. And it's interesting that you read in the Hebrew 11, it says that get rid of the sin that's stopping us finishing the race, which is sin. But when you look from the Greek or Aramaic translations, it says that just like the racer who runs and he has the injury inside of him that's stopping him from achieving the race, we have to get rid of whatever's stopping us. Mm-hmm. So in racing, in running, number one problem or number one issue that you're dealing with, and everyone dealing with that's the process of the journey, injuries. Injuries, like no matter who you are, no matter how you athletic, 80% of all the elite runners, they go through the process of the injuries.
I wanted to go back to when he said that it seems like limitless.
That's right? Yeah.
And it's not that it's limitless. He had to learn where the limit was. where the boundaries were with his current state and how to functionally press through those limits, like on purpose, not to receive injury.
So it's kind of like you're pushing yourself.
Right. So the way that you reach limitless is to keep on breaking the ceiling.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like 10% each week it would be built. So if you started with 3 miles.
You discover yourself first.
Yes.
You discover yourself first, and then you achieve this results, but then you think, okay, if I discover this, can I push myself harder? And then you make the commitment, and you say, yes, I can. How about I try and I do that?
Right.
You follow the plan. You have a plan, and you have a coaching. And I mean, it's interesting, if you look back, 100 years back, we all used to run.
Right.
We used to only walk and run. We've been for thousands of years doing this. We just stopped doing this right now. I mean, even right now, if you go to some countries...
Andre, he's pretty much obsessed with that word.
Yes, run,
He's obsessed.
run.
He's talking about run.
I'm not
it's
just
like,
doing the run.
It's like I can imagine sitting in your house and it's like, Mary, I'm reading again in the Bible and it says again, run.
Well, the amount of videos that he's watched on YouTube.
Probably watching one movie, Run Everest.
Well, I read 4 books on running, and it's interesting. I mean, but the point is, it's not just running or biking or swimming or just whatever activities. You have to do that, because if you will take care of your body will take care of you. You know, and this is the only thing that we have. So in this world, and you're not doing this to hurt yourself. You're doing this because you're doing this to improve yourself, just to be better for your family, for the kingdom of God, and for people around you.
What I like when whether we're doing sports or whether we do embrace any challenges that actually improves our life in general, that my wife can take advantage of that, your kids can take advantage. But what I cannot stand, like for example, like my boys, they're obsessed about going to gym. So and they always brag about, okay, look at my muscles, look at this, look at that. And you love all of that. And then you say, hey, can you help me move this couch? you asking me to lift this? No, I will not. I can't. It's kind of like, look, man, didn't you just brag about lifting so much weight? And now you refuse to move this couch? And so it's kind of like, that's, to me, is like, why are you doing this?
That's actually one of the small reasons why I began to run. I hated to sweat. I hated anything that just sticky, like smells and I'm like, man, I need to break that. And
so it's kind of like being
running. You just
push yourself and become unlimited. It's like
you embrace that.
Yeah,
you embrace what was natural.
Is he became better man in romance now by achieving that?
I mean, I would say like how he said that he was tired when he woke up in the morning, and he was just like, you get coffee and then you get your day going. Right now, he wakes up without anything, without brushing his teeth, anything. He goes, puts on his shorts, and runs.
Wow, Andre.
Same as her. It's not just me. She's doing that too.
And I would say, coming back to the
you were a coffee drinker always, right?
Yeah.
So you also you don't need the coffee anymore?
No, not. I mean, I would drink at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, like.
But after you do the run.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I don't want and different people have different
Some
things.
people drink coffee. Coffee is actually good to drink in the morning, just a black coffee, not.
Yeah, even before the run.
It's actually really recommended.
Really, but you don't need that. That's why.
I just like to run and see. Right now, I learned running for the past 2 years, and now I'm learning how to swim and how to bike, because those 3 the most essential to your life. And swimming is actually one of the healthiest for you, because it affects every single part of your body. When I began to swim, I never got anxieties in my life. I never knew what is it. I was always making fun of that. And Mary knows that for the first 4 days I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep because first time I learned I realized something that I'm not in control of. Because when you're in the water, you're not in control of yourself. You're sinking.
When you freestyle swim and you don't know how to properly freestyle.
The breathing part is just so interesting. I just completely lost it. And then when you're going in and you try to fix yourself, your breathing problem, and then you get this anxiety and your feet going down, then you literally sink in the water. And then I begin to freak out.
And you guys, you're not in a pool. You're in an open ocean, right?
I'm going right now. I'm supposed to go right now at 6 o'clock to the open 1 mile swim, open water, back and forth. And this is my third exercise today, which is this morning was running, then working on my body, and now swimming for 1 hour. And tomorrow two things. So pretty much I did calculation doing 11 times, but it's a season.
Right.
It's just this moment just to be with the family, but it's a price, right, Mary? It's a price to pay for that too, because it requires up to 20 hours a week. It requires a lot of time for that.
So was it for you the same kind of like motivation, or is it because Andre set the example and you feel like, hey, I want us to do everything this all together, like business together, running together, and then you push yourself. I'm sure it's not the same motivation as for him as for you, or is it the same?
No, Andre's always the first. He's always the one that's going out and doing something first. And he gets so passionate that you see him say,
right.
run,
Like,
run.
Right.
And I'm so energized. And I was like this. And then he tells me.
Adrenaline inspires
and he inspires me. He's like, Mary, you have to run. You need to try because this is like life for me. It's like a dream, And he is watching all these videos and, and I just see him so passionate. I'm like, baby, I'm good with my Peloton bike, with outside,
That's
I'm
enough
just,
for me.
I'm great. I'm not a runner. I will get on the treadmill and just run. He's like, no, Mary, you have no idea. You just need to try. You just need to go. Come, let's go. And Puerto Vallarta. I just got finished eating. He's like, let's go for a run. Let's go run off our calories. And I was like, sure, let's go. It's like 90 degrees, 90% humidity. 2 miles later, I'm like dying, like on the side of the road. And he's like, hey, he ran halfway. He came back to me. He ran again. He came back to me. So he's the one that always inspires me.
And she's really, really good.
So, finish that.
So, I would say that I'm the type of person that would always try, but he's a great motivator to get you to buy in, like at least a little bit. But I would always say, like, I'm never gonna like do as extreme as you, or like, but I'll always like
But you did those marathons yourself, right?
Yeah, like I didn't do the full marathons yet. Only halves.
What is the biggest you have done?
13.2.
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's
a
lot.
Like I would say, like I'm not
many of those.
Yeah. Wow,
I'm not doing the full, but I'm doing the halves. And at that time I had the injuries as well.
Right.
The diagnosis.
Wow.
I
want to talk to you about this specifically because I think for a lot of people, when they go through something like this, when you were diagnosed with cancer, people like, no, my life is ended. Mm-hmm. What was for you the first time you heard that news? You're diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, I was in the meeting with 3-Step, one of the biggest contracts that we had signed. And when I got the call from the doctor and said, it's not the news that we wanted, you have the tumor inside, the colon cancer, and it's blocking 90% of your intestine. And I walked into the conference room full of people making this decision.
So did you feel like I wish I can cry, but I know I can't right now because I'm in front of the people?
No, I didn't feel to cry. I think as a mother, or if you've been through anything, like when you hear like a shocking news, it kind of is like, okay, what's next? That adrenaline just hits you and you're like, what is the next step? Like, what do I need to do?
Right.
What's your advice? So that's what I asked the doctor. I said, okay, so then what's the next step? And he said, well, we're going to have to get, start the process to prepare for surgery. And I want, to get all the scans and blood work. And so when I finished that call, I knew what plan that we needed to move forward step by step, like to get it taken care of. But also I knew, and I trusted God. I knew, like, no matter what I'm going to go through, I would repeat the scripture to myself, like that God's plan is for good and not for evil all the days of my life. And
so at that moment, speaking of the trust, because you say, I'm trusting God. So that moment, trust in God, it means that you still believe that what happened right now, God is like for me.
Yeah.
He's not against me, right?
Yeah, I had complete trust.
It was not even questioned God against me. Because
well, what I mean why, because like God is punishing me. It's like some people think because the way they were raised, for example, the way they interpreted Bible is when everything goes well, they think, well, God is blessing me. I mean, that's probably I'm doing something good. But then when something happened, especially serious like this, what have I done? What have I done that God is punishing me? And then they go through analyzing themselves, for example, and they would repent. Am I clean now? Kind of like, hey, am I clean now? Can you cleanse me? And
I think for me, like I knew that God, no matter what would happen, that all the days of my life were in His hands, and I had peace in my mind that I knew everything was going to be okay. I didn't know what that would mean. Like, in the end, it's going to be okay. I didn't feel hopeless or that I would die. I didn't have a sense like, but I did have thoughts like, what if I do pass away? Like, what would happen?
Because that's realistically that could have happened.
Yeah, and you have to kind of like walk yourself through that. Well, like I know that Andre is in good hands. Like I know that my kids
gonna get married soon.
Well, yeah, I mean I know that he's an amazing person and that he has good character and that he's, like anybody would be happy to be married to him, right?
Yeah.
And
you didn't feel jealous?
No, because I feel like
no, man, did you feel that?
No, I didn't feel jealous, to be honest, like because
well, we knew right away from the first shots, like news.
Right.
It's an attack.
It's a devil attack.
We just knew just strongly this demonic attack. It was nothing from God or anything like that. It was in any pastor or my dad, anyone who knows close, who has very close relationship with God, the first response they would tell us is just attack, just be strong. And I'll share a little bit something very short with me. So when we got this news, I couldn't comfort myself. I couldn't find any answers. I knew.
So you did panic.
It just naturally, there's millions thoughts just get into your mind. How I'm going to talk to my kids? What I'm going to do with this? How I'm going to do with that? How I'm going to deal with this? Well, your mind just crazy. But I couldn't find peace in my mind. I'm like, man, how I can stop this? And then I was getting emotional too. I was like, ooh. Right. I couldn't control my emotions. And I look at Mary, she's just so chill. She's just, like, and I look at her, she's so beautiful. Like, no way, this is impossible. Whatever. The bottom line is that coming back to the conference where we got the news about your cancer, when you got the call from the doctor, we're sitting there at the lunch and we look at the wall and we saw this scripture that says, just be still and know I am God.
Wow.
Just be still and know I'm God. And she looked and I looked and I began to cry and I couldn't control myself and I was talking to one of the guys that threw away because he's like, man, what's wrong with this guy? That moment just changed everything. I don't know how. I never experienced the miracle like that.
The kind of like the word of God that spoke so personal.
Stopped like completely. I don't know how you married, but for me, it just completely stopped this flow of the thoughts. And instead of just getting those crazy thoughts, I was getting scripture. Be still, know I'm God. I was getting right now like million times like the scripture just keep coming back. I look at Mary, something negative, be still and know I'm God. Just be still and know I'm God. And how many times we repeated that scripture at night? It was probably like thousands.
It was an
times.
anchor that held
Anchor.
him, and it was like
that scripture just kept us that night because we were away from the kids. We were in a hotel, and I remember I couldn't sleep. Woke up in the morning. It was like 5:30 in the morning. I just go to run next to the highway. I'm just running like 7 miles.
Wow.
And it's cold. And I remember I was just in t-shirt and I'm just running. I see somebody running, it's dark. And I look, it's Mary. I'm like,
no way.
what?
So during, when you were diagnosed with cancer, confirmed by the doctor, next day you still run.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she runs. I'm like, okay.
You're a strong lady.
She's
very strong.
She's tall.
But I have to tell you, there was a moment, if you remember, I came to talk to you one-on-one.
Yeah.
And I remember thoughts going through my head was, what should I say? Because she's probably going through such a difficult moment in her life, probably a lot of doubts, a lot of uncertainty. What would I say? And I'm kind of like, what would I say? And I'm thinking to myself, thinking that I have to give you something. That's what I was going through my head. It's kind of, what can I give you? So I'm coming to you, and I'm trying to say something. And I remember your eyes. You look at me as I like right now, and you're like, I am set on one thing. I want to praise God. And it was like, wow, you were so commanding. You were so commanding. It's kind of like, wow, that is a true test in your life. And at that moment, one thing that you want to do, you just want to praise God. And I was just like, wow, it's like it changed completely even me. So it's like, it's not what I gave you, it's like what you gave me. And it was such an inspirational. It was just such an inspirational. And I remember going home. It's kind of like got to me, why would God allow something this to happen for our good? And this was good. It's kind of like too rich. Like you guys were speaking about limitless. To me, limitless is like devil cannot scare you. Nope. It just like, because it says in the Bible, nothing will separate you from him. Nothing. And this is why, because of our faith, it's about our convictions. It comes to our own convictions.
I did want to say as well is like just, you have to recognize the season that you're in. Mm-hmm. Like how Andre said, like I could never imagine like when we were in the office and we had the baby here and we had this and, you're just so full and you get home at 8 p.m. even as a family working together in a family business, we would eat out. And if you see and recognize this is a season. This is a season, like, the baby is breastfeeding for a season. Okay, right. There is hope. There is like the next step. The baby's not always going to wake up at night. The baby's going to grow up. And I'm enjoying the infancy, but I'm also looking forward to what's to come. Mm-hmm. And I think that as a family and as, you ask, like, how do you manage? It's being aware of where you are in your season. Mm-hmm. As far as like a company and where you might have flexibility and not where you want to push yourself somewhere. Like I might not have been able to do this before, but I want to wake up at 6 a.m. Like God had asked me, like I did a 21-day fast in the beginning of the year. And I had surgery November 18th. And 8 weeks later, I was training for the next half marathon.
Oh man, that is unbelievable.
So and I tried to push myself and I could see okay, I'm hitting the limit.
Wow.
I needed to.
She's limitless.
Wow.
She's very, very strong. We just came back from the mountain biking and the team, those guys doing for 20 years mountain biking.
Right.
And there's ladies that doing for many years. She went there first time. They all quit.
Wow.
Except her and those professional guys.
Unbelievable.
And we just went all 6,000 feet up in the in the elevation, and it was not easy. It was one foot only, mountain aside and cliff, and she's just
unbelievable.
No
but
problem.
I think it's all how he said with your mind I'm just gonna try. Whatever I can. I'm just gonna try.
You trick yourself. You trick yourself.
I do,
yeah.
and
surprised your body can do what you can do.
The potential we have. Yeah,
but it's being smart too at the same time, where you're not I'm gonna be reckless.
You're not gonna.
I'm gonna try my best. And so, with skiing, for example, you have green, blue, black, double black, and I was comparing my mountain bike to the levels of the skiing and how I'm maneuvering. Like, okay, this is like a black, but it's not. I need to learn to embrace the speed, because with the black, if you're going to try to look at the mountain in the steep, you're just going to not be willing to put your skis straight.
Right.
And to go and to enjoy that moment.
I'm glad that you brought it up about the word season. I think you're right. Now, as I'm thinking, everything happened for a reason, in a season. It's like, if that would happen before any revelations that you just guys experience in your life, I think it would be way too early in your life. Right now, I know you. I know how you were developed. I know the kind of success you experience early age of your career, but you became yours just, if I have to think of you now, I know your success is this big, but you are humble this big. When I say humble, I mean that's the people to me who really can think of others and give credit to God.
Amen.
That is the people who can think of others and don't care so much about putting my own rewards on the wall. Don't care about that, but have that confidence in myself that I'm here with Jesus. My family is here. I know my place in my family, and I know the career to me is the way to know my calling. And I'm called by God. You know, you just see everything work out for the glory of God. Yes. So we're here in the Dallas office. And as always, when you come to Dallas office, you have the greatest welcome, hospitality.
Absolutely. Southern hospitality. Yeah, I still remember when we had the meeting, the last meeting here. So it's I always like to come to Dallas. With the 3 steps. Yeah.
So, Andre, you manage a very large territory in fine designs. And I know some weeks you have a lot of pressure. So what would you say would be your advice, how to handle the pressure?
Well, I think pressure comes from the lack of the system in the company. I mean, honestly, I would say I don't have that much pressure anymore as I used to, because we have such a good team. We have a really good system. Because for me, I have the formula for the success for the business, which is people, process, and product. So a lot of companies, they make the mistake. They're looking first for the product, which is what makes the most money. Then they look for the system, which is process. And then they look for the people. What I do, I always look for the people first. When you have the right people, they're going to take care of the process, which is systems, and they're going to take care of the product. So if you have the right people, in a boss, definitely less stress.
So when you say, speaking of the system, I remember coming to the events myself many years ago, obviously. And when you have to do the setup, you have the variety of stuff that you put on a wall, and then organize your stuff. But then people come and they ask you, oh, okay, I'm ready to get this hoodie sweatshirt. And then instead of doing the whole setup, you stop and you pull in that hoodie sweatshirt that you don't know. Okay, you start pulling, and the person say, no, I don't want, I want a larger. And then you drop, you go through other stuff, boxes, you sweat now, and you pull up that size, and then other person keep coming. By the time you sold 5 sweatshirts, you already feel like
you're in a mess.
You're in a mess. Yeah. So that's that's what you're referring to, that system, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because business is it's a system. It's a I don't know if you can call it organism, which has head and hands and feet and the whole body. But if you have the right person who can manage that, you have the right hat, pretty much right people, the system works itself.
So it's kind of like this. Use the same illustration that like I have during one event, single event. So you like a boss, and you have to oversee 100 events. It would be the same. You get tired and lose the energy quickly if you don't have a system, you have 2 events, for example, 3 events, you will get really tired. But when you have everything organized, so put in the right people, put in the right system in place, then even 100 events is not going to be as tired as you do the 3 events without the system.
Absolutely. Wow. So pretty much, I mean, even 100, even 1,000, it doesn't matter how much you're going to get. Because if you look at Bill Gates, how he can handle, how many, 80,000 employees or even more than that, I don't know. And he doesn't handle them, the system handles them.
Right. Yeah, that's the same thing when they ask the speaker, how are you able to speak to the audience, like 15,000 of people, or say 70,000 of people in a stadium? And the secret is it's like you speak to one person.
Yeah.
So literally they actually pick out of the whole crowd, you pick one person. It's kind of like you imagine you speak to that one soul. That is the secret. And then that's how you're going to be relevant to speak to 100,000. So it's the same. It doesn't really matter whether it's only one person, 10 people, or the audience of 100,000 people. So it's the same process, same
system.
That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool. Speaking of the system, you mentioned the people, the right people are the key for keeping that system in place week after week. Is there like people who you would never hire?
I mean, of course, but what I found challenging in me, it's actually really hard to fire people. Why? Because you give them so much responsibilities, and then when the bus is moving, or the airplane, on the move, it's hard to stop the whole thing and just kick out that person. So I would say it takes time, like you're saying, to change that mistake, but this is the biggest mistake. I would say the biggest mistake that they can make to hire the wrong person.
Okay, so like, are you
which is in a high position? I'm not saying just a person who doing printing logos, doing T-shirts. I'm saying somebody who in a high position. Like
so in other words, there is people for season work, and there is people that you would like to keep them for the long-term business. So it's like a illustration would be, you said the airplane, so illustration would be going to the bus, and I want to make sure that people understand where the bus is going. Exactly. In other words, you have to have the right expectations, because if the people don't have right expectation, then we're going to go through it, and then somebody's going to get disappointed. Either that person going to get disappointed, or you as their boss will get disappointed with their results as well, right? Well, that's a beautiful office. That's the office of the boss of the Dallas area. It's nice. So how often do you come and work at this office?
Well, COVID changed everything. Since COVID, I come here twice, sometimes 3 times a week. I used to come here every day, and pretty much my son, he grew up here. We had the babysitter. She would watch him, and we would stay here from 9 o'clock to 7 p.m. every day for years.
Wow.
Yeah, so things change. Kids grow up, and now they're going to schools, they're doing jiu-jitsu, they're doing sports. So, and COVID changed the culture. Now we work from the house.
So do you encourage people to work from their house?
I don't, but somehow I do have some people doing that. And there's pros and cons. I mean, there's ups and downs, but...
so what is the pros and cons people working from the house?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I would prefer them to work in the office.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so the way... what was the philosophy? I'm thinking, what was the philosophy that before the COVID, it was not even allowed?
There was nobody even question about that.
That's right. So nobody thought, oh, okay, this is okay. If somebody asks, can I work from home? Oh, no, it's not okay. Because why? Because first of all, we control people. We can control their efficiency. When they work from home, then we should rely and completely trust them. So in other words, can they use that trust or they abuse that trust? So you think, say for example, if they would never abuse your trust, would you allow them to work from home?
I would.
If that's the case,
just because I trust them. Exactly.
because of the trust.
Because you trust them and because, they want to work from the home, yes, I would allow you to do that.
Right, because it teach them about their self-responsibility when they work from home. When they work from office, then you, as a manager, you want to make sure they always on time and they always deliver the results. Yep. And if they not, then you can correct them. You can, wherever you can punish them, you can reward them, but there is a system in place. Now, the system is lacking pretty much.
It is.
We rely on people.
But I don't know how's your experience, but with my personal experience with working from the house, I'm kind of going back to the office right now more and more. Something coming back. I don't know. In me, personally, now, after like 3 years of working in the house, I prefer to go to the office. And I feel this more and more. And I think this will change. This will shift.
You ask me, it depends of what subject that I'm working. Mm-hmm. Like there is some work that I prefer to be alone. In other words, no interruption. But there is some that requires a teamwork that actually I prefer to be in the office as well, because then we can have a feedback. Then we can create office atmosphere, meaning in inspiration. Meaning because I am as a person, I am the person that I can influence other people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what people lack in. If you're in a house and you're there alone, and it's like, I'm questioning, how could you produce the same type of results if you're not in an atmosphere where there is encouragement, when there is the culture of where we aiding one to another? That's what I believe. That's what truly lacking. However, if it never was in a place, obviously, people don't know the difference, but there is a difference for sure. There is a difference.
Oh, there's a huge difference, and I see this shifting in me, because, like you said, first of all, teamwork, and the spirit, just the whole atmosphere, just in the office is different.
Right.
Working in the house. In the house, it was good, but it's changing right now.
So
at least in me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So would you say the best solution in this case would be not to say to the person, no, we're not allowing, because after COVID, people kind of expect
which
that.
person, see?
Yeah.
It really depends. If you have a research department, if you have a marketing department, maybe they can do better jobs from the house than here, because it's less distraction.
So it's, in other words, based on the individual position of the work they're doing. Yeah.
But if you're manager here, you manage people, you have to be here. You have to see managers here. But I have some people who are doing research, who are doing marketing, they work from their home. And I think this is a great job. I don't see anything change, in the numbers. That's my wife.
That is Mary.
She's
the champion in sales.
She's the center of the whole world.
Yeah. Mary, what's interesting, I remember coming to this office, it was as clean as today and as beautiful as today as was many years ago when I crossed that office the very, very first time.
Thank you.
Is it always like this, or is it like sometimes it's messy?
No, I think when we first had kids, they might have been kids. We had my child in here.
One thing that I remember, you were single, then you got married, and you guys, for a time, you didn't have kids. So obviously, you could produce more. But now you guys have 3 kids. And you still manage, and first of all, you look beautiful. And it's kind of like, I would think, is she's mom? No, she doesn't look like mom, but you are mom. And so how are you able to balance that? How are you able to manage that?
Yeah, just with the journey, you just develop and learn how to delegate. Obviously, as the amount of clients grew, then I needed to have help with just the paperwork side of things. So I hired an assistant. First part-time and then full-time. And then went through different assistants. Right now, my assistant works full-time from Boston.
Okay. So how many assistants total do you have right now? Or is it just one? one,
Yeah,
but it's a
she's-
full-time assistant.
Yes. And she's very efficient. I love her. So yeah, she does all the paperwork side of things and is able to keep things going as far as like emailing templates to the event directors and following up. That way I can focus on new leads and then any complications. So that makes my job easier as far as getting new clients. And then as the business grows, you have a lot more leverage with referencing big contracts that you already have. And I think that that plays a big part in winning larger clients as well.
Right. Knowing how good you are, I mean, it's just. I'm trying to find the right word even to say, because good, it doesn't really describe who you are. You're like one of the top people in the companies. What would be your advice to moms who is like sitting at home and they used to dream about the career, but now they thinking, how could I do this? I have 2 kids and I'm already mom. How would I be able to do that? What would be your advice to those moms?
Well, if they have a desire to work and just feel overwhelmed, I always say like it's almost like doing different sports with guys, you know, like they would say, oh, well, I love biking and I love hiking and
Right.
I love zip lining, but each different sport is a different muscle. So you wouldn't like just bike every single day till the end. And parenting is like doing a triathlon every day. It's like
okay.
you're a mom, you're a wife, and then you're in business.
Right.
But I would say you have to take bite size of each, and you have to know where you need to say no and where you can be more efficient. I always say like I'm only one person, but people can say that like in a negative way, or you can like learn, hey, I have 2 hours to do this. Tell me what's the priority. Like, so I think that, and I encourage moms that want to go back to work, that it's like working out those different muscles. It's like giving your mind a break from like the kids and the running around and just not being able to have that adult interaction, to being able to take a break from the child
Right.
interaction and going and talking with adults and being able to use your mind and your skills. You know, in the computer and talking to people on the phone, you can have normal conversations, and then you enjoy going back to being a mom. So talking with my colleague who also juggles as well, Val, she works 15 hours a week and is a mom pregnant with her 4th child.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it is about learning how to manage time and what is priority, because I have to say no to some things that I might like to do, but they're not top priority. And I think that a lot of people can understand that.
Then also I have another question is, for me, for a man, and speaking of the men in general, I know for me to be like great husband, great father, is I have to be successful at my calling. If I'm not calling, if I'm not as successful here, then I don't see myself to be as a good husband, good lover. I would be like not in a great mood. How is that connected to you, your career now, your success now? Is it connected, or is it more like, as long as my kid's doing all right, I'm happy?
Yeah, I think as far as my calling goes, it's to be the best wife and mother that I can be.
So you still say that's priority number one?
Yes.
Your kids and your being a mom and then being a wife, that's more priority number one than 2, and work would be number 3?
Yes.
I see.
And really, I mean, relationship with God, obviously, because, you know, if you serve God, but it's understanding that when you put yourself in the position of the end of your life, when you look back on your life, what are you going to be most proud of? Like that you left a legacy with your kids, or that you were able to, you know, to train them up to make individual independent decisions that that show the morality of your family, that bring the character of your family to the next generation. If you can only carry your character inside of your own self, then I've failed. I have failed if I've haven't passed down the character of our family to the next generation.
But it's kind of like being who you are, being successful in business. It's kind of like you already passing that to your children, influence your children. Like for your daughters, hey, you can be as successful as your mom. It's kind of like subconsciously your kids understand that you can be very good at your business, and at the same time you can manage the family, and you can do so many other things. Look in your life as an example.
It's a mindset, because I hear some moms that do the same thing, but they might approach it from a negative standpoint, or the way that they say it might come off as like, oh man, it's just so exhausting. It's and when my daughter comes up and she says, Mom, like you're just working again, like you're just like, you need to finish the email again, so it's like a reminder, no, I need to put this down and really focus on my children and show them the value of what it is. Yes, like in some cases I'll say like, yes, honey, like this work needs to be done, but we're gonna have so much fun. We're gonna spend time together, and in some other light, I could say, yeah, why don't you just leave me alone? Why don't you just give me some space? And they take however my response is to whatever they're asking is really important. And I always try to tell my kids that. I was like, it's not about that your sister wronged you. It's about how you responded to her wrong. Because yes, you were in the right, but at the same time, did it help the situation? No.
Right, but did you keep your commitment? Yeah, I understand the response is great, and that's one way of keeping your response in the right way. Because if that's one way, but then have you always kept your commitment? Like if you promised, hey, give mom a moment here, I'll finish, and then we can play. Mm-hmm. Did you always keep your commitment, or is more like I felt guilty at the end of the day?
Yeah, I would say that it's a mix. That I would say 80% of the time, 85% of the time, that it would be yes, like, okay, I'm just going to shut it down. And other times it would take longer to like finish that email. It might be, took more thought than what I expected. And my son would come back in the room, Mom, you said it was going to be 5 minutes.
That's what I
and
was
I'm finishing up.
Yeah.
I'm finishing up. And I said, I'm so sorry, Adria, you're right. I did say it was going to be 5 minutes, but it's taking a little bit longer than what I expected. But we're still going to be able to, enjoy. And in some cases, like my daughter, she's like really keeps me accountable to what I tell her. And so, she'll say, Mom, you told me that we're going to go to pottery class. You told me we're going to go after and we're going to go on a date. And you didn't bring me. And you told me it was last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And I was like, you're right, and the time has flown away, but it is my priority to bring you. And so I surprised her one day, and I was like, it might not have been in the timing that I would have wanted. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. She has an expectation and I have an expectation. And I let her know, like, I would love to bring you to pottery class today, right now. Like, I feel disappointed that I can't bring you to pottery class right now, but I have a decision to make. You tell me, like, we have these things to do and we still need to go eat. Like, we don't really have time because they close. Right. So I try to let her understand my perspective and not just shutting her down. And in some cases, like, sometimes it is painful for them. Like, no, it's not going to happen, and I did want it to happen, but I think the main thing is that transparency, because sometimes as parents, we try to hide we try to be as polished and hide our own feelings, or, that we actually would love to spend time and relax and do those things. But we just are not able in this moment.
Yeah. But, and again, like you say, in transparency and being authentic with your children, I think that's how you react, how you explain yourself is like, as long as the that child feels like she's significant to me. That's like kind of like, oh, mom thinks that I'm significant, that her work is not more important. Because she is doing that, because not that she's forgot about me, not that I'm less important than her work. It just she's doing that at that moment.
Right.
So it's about that trust, because children, they happen to interpret it their own way. So it's like, as long as we have that transparency and understanding, I think everything would be all right. So it seems like it's better than all right.
Yeah. And it depends on the age of the children as well. Like if they're able to comprehend and understand that,
So right now, your children, what age are the children?
My son is 11, and then 9-year-old girl and a 6-year-old girl.
So
they're just starting to really have an awareness that there are different priorities and responsibilities with each age and opportunity. Whereas before, when they were 2 years old and 4 years old, it was like their way or the highway. So it was like, at that point, you just give the baby to the nanny, and you have to I think that a lot of moms are really guilty. Like they feel guilty that they're putting their child into daycare while they're working. And I think I hear that most often is like, man, it just tore my heart apart that I'm, that I'm not being a mom and that I'm not there for them. But I try to just remind them and go back to, you need time for yourself and you need time for adult interaction. And whatever that means to you, you need to have an adult life. And Boundaries with Kids really helped me with that. The book, Boundaries with Kids, is you are bringing your own emotion from your childhood into raising kids and making decisions with work and everything. So it helped me to be able to organize and feel comfort in knowing what I was doing was right.
Right. Well, thank you, Viktor.
He's a manager all over this department, which is probably one of the most important departments in our business.
Right.
For how many years have you been here?
8 years.
8 years.
Congratulations.
He's from New England.
I see. Yeah. Joshua, how do you able to keep the deadlines week after week?
Honestly, just staying focused and being flexible. Sometimes it's putting in extra hours.
But you depend on other people. It's not just you, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's a collaborative effort.
Effort.
But yeah, just honestly, it's just flexibility on the part of the whole team.
So was there a times where this is Wednesday right now, and the event's coming Friday, and you look at, there is no way we can make it. So what do you do in that case?
Honestly, those situations are very rare. Really, things
because
like that.
You plan ahead of time, right?
We try to as much as we can. Those situations are usually like, hey, we need this in an hour, that kind of stuff.
I see.
But it's very rare. We're usually able to,
So let's say somebody comes to you and says, this thing we need in 1 hour. Speaking of the advice, is it because mentally you're strong, or is it because of your experience? That's why you're able to do this job? Because you have done this in the past? Why would you say?
Honestly, all the above.
All the above.
It's a certain a part of it is the mental dexterity.
I could never say, sorry, I just could not make it.
Yeah, we're always able to find a way.
Yeah, so always, because there is that standard, that raising a bar, you cannot find the excuse. You always have to make it accountable and deliver the results, right?
That, and if you are not showing up and giving your best as a company, someone else will take your business. It's that simple.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So, Andre, what I just noticed speaking to Josh is people consciously or subconsciously, somewhere along the line, they know, kind of this is the standards of this company. This is the standards of this brand of fine designs. It's kind of, because some places, some families, it would be all right to come up with the excuse, and you kind of hey, I just could not make it. Sorry. But kind of speaking to Josh, I figure out he knows consciously and subconsciously at the end of the week, and say, for example, I cannot just say, well, we couldn't manage, or have another excuse, good excuse. There was not enough ink, or was something, we were lacking or something. How could I done? So I went home earlier. So I would say it's all because of you, because you're the number one person who started with you. Do you remember how you started this culture?
Well, see, it's not just me starting the culture. It's like I said, business. This is people, process, and product. And for example, with Joshua, you don't have to babysit him.
Right.
You have to sit and manage him or mentor him. There is no such a thing. If there is any problem, we have a kitchen talk. We're always saying kitchen. We go to the kitchen. Not even sometimes it comes to my office, but I always prefer to go to the kitchen because it's better to resolve the issues or whatever problems we have like this. Or he's gonna text message me. There is no such a thing as the PowerPoint views or this and that because he knows what he's doing. But everything comes to the right person.
Yeah, I know you love the sports. I know you like the sports. Yeah. And right now, I want to compare business to sports. Some teams, they kind of they go for Super Bowl or they go for Champions League. Yeah. And some teams, they never go for that. They just never aim for that because they know.
Example for that.
Yeah. So it's kind of so what does it take the team to be that victorious, to have that mindset to be victorious and fight for that
I think
reward?
The best example of the Texas Rangers, because they never had even a shot for the World Series, right? Texas Rangers, they're world champions right now. I mean, if you look at the Texas Rangers, they never won any World Series before. So what they did, they hired a coach, one of the best coaches ever, right? What's his name? The Texas Rangers coach. I don't know if you follow baseball. Not really. Okay. The bottom line is they ask him, "What is your secret of the success? How did you win the championship?" And he said, "You know what I did? I just allowed them to play the game.
Yeah.
I just look at them and I can see the talent, whatever they have. I didn't mess with their system." It's very interesting what he said. He said, "Usually we get the calls from the top, but I told them from the top, hey, don't call me. Mm-hmm. Let them figure out." And I allowed them to do that because if you look for the playoffs, they actually lost one of the top players because he got injured. So he told them, "Hey guys, just play the way you play. Just enjoy the game. Just have a fun." Mm-hmm. Usually they get the calls from the top. "Hey, you change the rotation, you change this and that." And he said, "You know what? I'm not gonna do that. You guys just do what you do. I trust you." Mm-hmm. And they won. They won the World Championship, and they were completely on the docks. Coming back, to the team. For example, use an example of the Joshua. Same thing. You don't have to go from the top. You don't have to just go because sometimes I would come with my suggestions. He has his own, but it's just a teamwork. And
no, I agree. It's a teamwork, and you give all credit to your team players, but because you are humble. And you would never say, "Oh yeah, it's all because of me, Viktor. It's all because of me. That's why we're able to deliver year after year." But speaking of the sports and business, everybody's agree. It starts with a coach. And if the team is able to win, they would give the credit, first of all, to the coach. Because even like you just described, he decided to give players a freedom. Kind of like, "Hey, why don't you find your own niche?" Mm-hmm. Instead of me saying, "Okay, you go to the left side, you go to the right side, and you go from the center, you find that." But even that was under my control, that was under my vision. But still, in order to deliver that vision, I would have to inspire them. I would have to discipline them. I would have to go through so many times that people have to embrace the pain, where they have to feel comfortable being in a situation where it's completely uncomfortable. So that is credit to the coach.
Yes.
So sometimes you look at those teams, like top teams like Chelsea or Barcelona, and they would suck a coach. They would suck, even though it seems like he was doing a right job, and you think, why don't you punish the players? And they would never punish the players. It's the coach who gets punished. Do you agree with that, sir?
No, absolutely, 100%. Because Joshua knows, especially talking about the printing shop, which is the heart of our business.
Right.
He knows that whatever needs to be done needs to be done. If I tell him, listen, there's no limit for the improvement. If we need AC, we get the AC, right? If we need new machines, we get the new machines. Whatever needs to be done is, go ahead, get it, right? It's always like that. Whatever is comfortable for you, whatever help you need, whatever needs to be invested, it's going to be done, as long as you need it, as long as we communicate. So yeah, I mean, you see, I'm just so lucky to have the right person,
right,
and I have to deal with a lot of coaching, a lot of with a lot of mentoring, a lot of stuff like that. It just he knows what needs to be done. He calls me, hey, let's get this, let's change that, let's improve that. For example, if you look for these machines, pretty much we came out with this system that it's not even exists in the whole world. Those machines were made for the bumper stickers. They're not made for the silk screening. So we bypass this huge, many legs machine, and we just figure out that it's just a process of innovation.
People say that in order for business to be able to compete, win competition, you have to always think of the innovation. What innovation plays in your role of business, would you say?
Well, if you're not ahead of the game, somebody else is going to get there. And there's always competition. Every morning I wake up, pretty much every morning I tell Timur, hey, you never know, there's somebody can be better than us.
That's right.
So we better improve. And especially when you read those books like Good to Great, one of the best books in the history of the humankind, when you read about those great companies that's supposed to be for centuries, more than half of them gone.
Right.
If you read any books of the history...
Yeah, the minute you relax, it's kind of like you think, I'm too big, there is nobody even come close to me.
Yep.
That is the wrong thing to say.
I always say, hey, somebody can be better than us, but what we can do better.
So it's kind of like to always have the mindset, like you were the first day at a startup company, for
This is
example.
exactly what I said to you, Mary. There is somebody's lurking there. There's somebody's lurking there that we don't know. But we should never relax. We should look forward, and we should always improve.
Yeah.
Because honestly, come on, if you look back for any companies, there's always somebody better eventually though.
Yeah.
But now talking about us, are we going to be better?
Yeah.
Because we can get relaxed.
But do you think you drove by fear or confidence in this case? Because competition at some point, it brings the fear out of you. It's like it's motivated by fear more than motivated by confidence.
Well, fear, it's a natural factor. And fear, it's a good thing. If you do sports, fear, it's a natural thing. You cannot ignore that. Of course you have a fear. And I do have those moments when I think about that because, somebody step in and 3 steps, step in, and sometimes you think, hey, maybe something's going to happen. Same with these machines, for example. For years, we were using those machines.
Manual machines.
Now we're moving into this direction. And the reason why, because they stopped producing the glue, right? Now we have to buy from the overseas or whatever. And eventually they're going to move into this direction. But this is the first generation machines. There's a lot of problems.
Yeah,
right? A lot of issues.
Yeah.
We put a lot of money, so it looks like it's still gonna be time for the transition, but we kind of move forward. And the reason why we do this because I know eventually it's gonna be no choice. Because M&R told us they're gonna stop doing those machines. They're gonna move into this direction. So there's always innovation. There's always innovation, but are you willing to innovate yourself and to put money for the future? Because that's the way it works.
Yeah, you could never say I'm too big and I'm not afraid of competition. It's kind of like you always have to remember.
Always there.
Yeah, always there.
Always somebody's lurking. It's lurking there. It's natural. I mean, this is how the business works. We live in this country, the greatest country in the world, and hey, we survive because of the competition.
And speaking of that book, Good or Excellent, Good to Great, is unless you have the standard to yourself, always fight for that greatness. Being good is not good enough.
Maybe we can face that.
Yeah, so it's
that
for sure.
Because we're facing the boxes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a great machine. Great machine.
Yeah.
So must be a lot easier to operate than manual machine.
It's easier, but it has its own
Yeah.
problems.
I feel like it's fairly solid. It seeks to run quality press all day long, and as long as you just stay on top of little things and make sure to just play it well,
Right.
I think it did the job for many quality years.
I still remember doing manual machine myself. Have you ever done
Oh
yourself?
yeah, I've done for 5 years.
Really? No,
So,
yourself,
I
right?
still have problems here. Yeah.
I haven't done
In
much.
my hands.
Yeah, I haven't done
Manually.
much, at least, but I have done maybe in the history of fine designs, I maybe done 5 times that nobody else
You
could
didn't
do it.
print them.
Yeah, a very long time ago. But at least I know. One thing I knew, I have to know everything about the business. And
Yeah.
back then, especially, we had to do those screens. That is the time I had the most difficult time to put that green stuff on the screen.
The motion.
The motion. I hate it. Every time I do it didn't work. Every time I didn't work.
I've done for 5 years.
Wow.
I
Good
know
job.
exactly how this works.
So
Yeah.
some people don't think it's necessary for the boss to know every aspect of the business, especially go and do it yourself. How do you think that relates to our business? How do you think, how that helped you, for example?
To know all the aspects
Yeah,
of the
to know all the
business.
specs and actually going able to, you've been doing that yourself,
Well, first of all, this is a small business.
right?
So it means that you start small. You start yourself. I remember we started with 2 boxes of the t-shirts and 2 heat presses, and then we have to start the print and shop. So you do yourself. Now, when you take over the business, it's different. When you buy now the business, here it's a different story. We start from zero. I was 23 years old. I didn't speak English. I didn't have any clue what's going on, but I had my hands.
Right.
So that's how we start. So with a small business, yes, you're involved in every aspect because you're going through the
So,
process.
and it's kind of like you delegate that specific job as you grow and you have finance
Yep.
to do that instead of going to get a loan and then hire somebody to do that job.
Exactly.
It's kind of like you make yourself doing it. But then mentally, how do you think that helps to relate to people? Do you think it's important to relate to people that then somebody says, I'm tired in the shop? And you kind of like, if you never know how
No.
to work in the shop, would that help you to relate to a person?
Not well. It's a good question because I was thinking about this. To some point, it's kind of selfish for them to be like me, because I was the one who started and I had the passion.
Right.
For them, you know, it's different passion. Maybe they have some. Maybe for them it's a hobby or something like that, but it's a different type of passion. Maybe it's a temporary job. Maybe it's just a job to support the family. So at some point, it's a little bit selfish for me to think like that. So the way I think, it's just naturally people just gifted to be the type of people that just doing a good job.
Right.
But
right.
to be like me, or to be like you, or to be like a business owner, I think it's selfish.
Right. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's not comparing apple to apple.
Yeah, but-
because comparing me to the shop experience,
Yep.
I would never be as good as some of the people. That some of the people, they produce so many products in one day that
Yep.
I would never be able to. And if I compare to myself, I would say, stop. You must be tired. And he was never tired because he
Yeah.
would actually produce double of that product. And the same thing goes to the salespeople. When you go on site, I know some of the people, they make so much money by
But
just
salespeople is a little bit different. For me, I always think about salespeople, different category of people, because you truly pretty much business owner. You own the piece of the business, because when you go out for the event, I always say that you hold the keys of the whole operation. That's different than just to be an employee. I don't know. This is something working with the mindset, because you actually truly the salesperson. To be a salesperson, this is the profession. Because if you know how to sell, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
You can move to any jobs, you can do any positions, and you can be the best. And truly, to find the salespeople, it's hard.
That's right.
Because if they
understood the philosophy.
know the philosophy, they're gonna appreciate, because They're in charge of the car.
Yeah, because you understand the philosophy of negotiation.
Exactly.
And if you know the negotiation, then you can go to any industry and you would be successful.
Yeah, I always
with
look
the
at
skills that you can get in fine designs.
Always look at the salespeople as the people of the future, people of the potential, because there's to some point there's always no limits to make money, because they can make so much money and just tips and tip a lot. More than some of them, they can make more than 5% of the sales, just on tips.
Wow,
that's crazy, because it just
it gives you motivation. It gives you motivation if you really understand.
I mean, Josh, you can relate that. You see, so to one point, he's the manager here, which is he has totally different mindset than some of us if we just work here, and he's a salesperson. It's totally different worlds.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, a big part of that is just creating the experience that's enjoyable to the customer. That's right. Just selling them a T-shirt that way when they see your booth, they're excited to.
Right.
You create the memories. You create the experience. It's totally different, because this business, which is Fun Designs, represents the 12 departments. It starts with the research department, which is totally different department in Boston. I have 2 full-time people working there. Then it goes to the marketing department. That's the second department, which is 4 people working pretty much full-time. And then for the marketing department, when it's already booked, it splits into 2 departments, which is names department, where they make the names department, and art department. Art department is the design department. Again, we have the whole team of people doing that, and they work with the oversee people. So that's already 3 and 4, which is names department 4. It's already 5 departments. And from there, goes to the manager department. So it goes to the 12 steps. And then you have this whole beautiful package of the event, and you give that beautiful event, or let's say the keys of this operation, to the salesperson. Now he holds the key of the success or the failure of the whole deal of the 12 steps.
Right.
He's the one who's in charge of that to execute. Wow. So he has the car, he has the all the systems behind him, and now him and the salesperson. That's why I see them totally different than any other departments.
So cool. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I've been also telling people, because when you go to work for Microsoft, it gives you potential to grow, to build your career a lot more than we can offer. For example, to look up your career and to build like the future. But what I'm saying, to give you enough motivation, invest in yourself, because just like you described, if you train yourself to understand the philosophy of sales alone, you get so much skills of negotiation, of sales, that the value that you will carry yourself, it would be from $20 per hour to $1,000 per hour to thousands of dollars per hour. That would be your value. So that's how I would motivate people to give me 100%, because what we want in business is for everybody to give 100%. If he or she gives 100%, then you take the teamwork, synergy.
Yep.
Of course, we will be successful, and that's how you get to the greatness. And I believe that is the true job of any coach, of business or sports. It is exactly that. Can I ask and can I get 100% of you? As long as you give me that in your niche, and then we all get that together as a team, that's a synergy.
Yeah, even for me, when I look at myself as the owner, as the manager, for me to go for the sales, it's totally different.
Right.
It's a different mindset, it's a different skills, it's a different approach. And for me just to be a salesperson, I'm like, man, I'm not actually, I'm not as good as Joshua, not even close.
Right.
Because they can upsell, they can do things. I mean, you just listen to them, you just watch them, how they interact with the people.
Yeah,
just
how
beautiful.
They communicate.
The communication is amazing. That's one of the, I think, Fun Designs offers great opportunities for the future of those salespeople, because they can do whatever they want in the future.
That's right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Joshua. Andre, where are we going right now?
Okay, this is tie-dye department, which is completely we made up. I mean, I mean,
Let's go.
you'll see that the whole process is so different, so unique.
All right, so this is the tie-dye department. This is where we prepare the shirts in order for them to be sewed. They come to us white, and then we process with the ink. We have a few different colors that we dye them in the tubs. And after here, they go to be dried in our industrial dryers. Of course, they're washed, pre-washed with vinegar,
stay there as well.
so that we make sure that the ink stays in the shirts for a long time. We dry, fold, and then they head out to the events.
Look at those dryers, they're so big. It doesn't stop, right? Look how they're big.
It does. You have to pull the pin.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Danila.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
I know we kind of invaded your space here.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's where the shop is. Okay, that's where the shop.
And
Okay.
it's packed. The system over here is the best. So this is just the cotton t-shirts over here. And then this is all the transfers. Over here you can see how they're packed really nice into the little bags to keep them away from the dust. Because they
Even
destroy-
bags, yeah, okay.
Even
so
bags.
that's what destroys, so that then it doesn't break.
Yeah.
I see.
And this with your product, it's pretty much fun designs. Most of the stuff.
Just with the label, find
with the label fun designs. Most, not all of them, but most.
The square footage here?
Almost 14,000.
Oh, okay.
And it's small.
It's still small.
It's still small.
You would prefer bigger. So thank you guys,
Thank you
because
so
that's exactly what your life is, and I'm just so proud that this is who Fine Designs.
Amazing.
Looking at you, this is who Fine Designs is, and I'm so proud to say that. Thank you.